So hi, everyone. We'll officially kick this off today. Thank you so much for joining us for our virtual session this afternoon about the importance of mentoring. For those of you who have been hanging out the past couple of minutes as we've gotten started today, I think you guys know you're in for a fun session. This is a fantastic lineup of speakers, and I think you guys are really going to have some fun with us over the next hour. As we get started, I want to first introduce myself. My name is Dr. Jessica Syed, and I'm the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions here at Rowan. I want to give a special shout out to any of our incoming accepted students for the fall, especially our incoming freshmen class of 2024, any incoming transfer students who have committed. We are super excited to get to meet you guys on campus. I know I've met a lot of you virtually over the past month or so, but we are really excited to put a face to a virtual name and get to start seeing you guys on campus soon. If we have any prospective students in the room, thank you also so much for joining. As you guys are still researching colleges, maybe you're in high school or still attending another institution and just trying to engage in your search and figure it all out. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. As we get started, I know I recognize a lot of familiar names in here. We have like an all-star group of student attendees. This is awesome. I see all my favorite MVP virtual event people back in the house today, which is awesome. So I think you guys can moderate this better than I could at this point. So you guys know what I'm about to say, but hopefully you can see us and hear us, but know that we can't see you and we cannot hear you today. So to communicate with us, and hopefully you're getting the sense, we want to make this as interactive and fun as possible. We don't want to talk at you guys. We want to be answering your questions and making sure that this is really a conversation, again, even though it's virtual. So if you look on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll notice the Q&A feature. So that allows you guys to write in any questions that you have. And throughout the course of the panel, again, this panel is really run by you. So any questions that you have, I'll be fielding to our presenters today so we can get all of your questions answered. So just to practice, so we can also get to know who's with us today, if everyone can use that Q&A feature to first introduce yourself. So give us your name, where you're from, if you're an accepted student that's joining us on campus this fall, whether you're a freshman or a transfer student, and then tell us something. All right, so we were talking about snacks earlier. You guys know I always am looking for recipes, Netflix recommendations. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Tiger King. If those of you, maybe this is your first session, this is a great session then if this is your first session, but if you guys don't know, I love Tiger King. It was a great series. But I want to know, what snacks have you guys been cheating yourself or treating yourself with throughout the time that you've been home? So those of you who know, and we were chatting earlier, I've been obsessed with M&Ms. I've eaten probably close to 20 pounds worth at this point, especially into the peanut butter ones or the peanut M&Ms. Very good, different varieties, mix it up a little bit. So tell us what you guys have been snacking on. And I'll shout some students out and we'll continue to introduce each other throughout the session today. So we have Emerson back in the house from Wisconsin. Emerson, it is great to see you again. We've missed you the past couple of days, so I'm glad you're back with us today. Emerson is, again, from Wisconsin. I hope you've been having some cheese curds or something. Fun, you'll have to let us know. All right, we have Joshua who is back. Joshua, good to see you again this afternoon. From Lumberton, coming from Rancocas Valley. You've been eating oatmeal cookies and snickerdoodles.
I can do that too, yeah.
Oh, I could get down with that, yeah. Have you been making them yourself? Because we need to know like who the good cooks are in the incoming class, so you guys can drop off some cookies when we get back to campus.
Dr. Connolly is a good cook.
Yeah?
You're too kind. That's my
It's amazing on Facebook. That's all I know.
You're a quarantine chef over here. We have Miriani. Good to see you again. Again, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, please stop and let me know. Spell it out for me. Who's a junior at Camden County Tech, and you've been eating a bunch of Oreos. Love Oreos. We have Alice again. Alice, good to see you again. Coming in as a civil engineering student. Emerson.
Stephanie, there's one of your students right there. Dr. Farrell.
Alice. Engineering in the house today. Alice, what are you snacking on? You got to let us know. Emerson, peanut butter cookies, sounds amazing. We have Abigail from Mount Laurel. Abigail, you've been snacking on some fruit. That sounds healthier than what I've been doing. So
she's not being honest. She's not snacking on fruit.
All right, Abby, if you've indulged in anything else, let us know. And Emerson, yes, coming in as a biomedical art major. All right, awesome. So it's so nice to meet you guys. If we missed anybody, continue to write in and introduce yourself. Give us some good snacks or some good recipes. But at this point, I would love to turn the session over to Richard Jones, our Vice President of Student Engagement, to kick us off today.
Hey, welcome. I'm Richard Jones. I'm the Vice President of Student Engagement. I've been at Rowan since 2008. And I'm just excited to hear what my other panelist mentor, our other panelist members are going to say about mentoring. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. And I'm just ready to kind of get into it. And I'm ready to hear what questions you all have for us. Oh, my undergrad degree is in English and history. My master's degree is in counseling. And I'm currently finishing up my doctorate in educational leadership, policy, and law. Ooh. JJ, we're going to hand it off to you.
I'm up. All right, that works. Well, hello, everyone. My name is John Vogel. Many people know me as JJ Vogel because my name is John James Vogel. A little background on me. I currently own and operate a marketing agency here in Philadelphia, 215 Marketing. A little bit of background. My undergraduate degree was from Rowan University in entrepreneurship of all things. I got my MBA in marketing from Drexel University. And in addition to those activities, I currently now serve on the alumni board of directors at Rowan University and am an adjunct professor of marketing at Rowan University. So I'm excited to talk to you all today. Richard was one of my mentors as I was coming through the undergraduate ranks. So it's fun to be on this panel.
You got to pass it off, JJ.
I got to pass it off. All right, I got to go to Dr. Connolly.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us, and hope everyone's healthy and all your loved ones are healthy. I am the founding chair and professor of the Department of Geology here at Rowan University, joining back in 2016. And I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in geology and a master's and PhD in geology, all from Rutgers University. And I have a couple other quick little titles. Boo, the opposition, right? I have a fancy title called Mission Sample Scientist, and I'm also co-investigator of NASA's New Frontiers 3 OSIRIS-REx, which is the asteroid sample return mission, which is currently in orbit around asteroid Bennu and going to collect sample and bring it back to Earth. And I'm in charge of everything to do with the sample and the origin of the sample, analysis of the sample. I'm also on a JAXA, which is Japanese Space Agency's Hayabusa 2 mission as a member of the sample analysis team and diplomatic liaison between the two missions. And finally, I'm a local kid. I was born in Camden and raised in Barrington and went to Haddon Heights High School. So I came back to my roots, and it's a lovely place to live. Love it.
Dr. Connolly, you're such a show off.
I'm proud. And also because of my mentors that I'm proud, and we'll get to that later. Okay, Greg, take it away.
All right. Hi, folks. I am Greg Caputo. I am currently the Associate Dean of the College of Science and Math, but before that, I was a professor and the department head of the Chemistry and Biochemistry department.
Still are, professor.
Sorry, what?
Still are, professor.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but not acting, right? Not practicing. I've lapsed in my faith. So I got my undergraduate degree in chemical biology, a PhD in molecular and cell biology and biochemistry. I worked at Texas A&M and UPenn as postdoctoral fellow before coming to Rowan in 2007. I, like Dr. Connolly, am a New Jersey native. I grew up in northern New Jersey. I know that's kind of like a different country for folks down here, but for those of you from out of state, you don't realize that there really is a dividing line at exit 7A. But I was a commuter student in college. I was a first generation student in college. Neither of my parents went to college. I am first generation in this country. My mother immigrated here, and I've gone through a lot of sort of changes in my direction and path in life, and I owe what I have and to where I am to great mentors. So that's why I was excited to be a part of this. And so with that, Dr. Farrell, it's up to you.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everybody. So I am also a New Jersey native. I grew up in northern New Jersey, and yep, all three of my degrees are in engineering. I'm not first generation to college, but I'm first generation engineer in my family. It was really something different for my sort of performing arts and liberal arts family background. Anyway, so I, kind of did my own thing, got all my degrees in chemical engineering, and I came to Rowan in 1998 as a founding faculty member of the Department of Chemical Engineering. So the college was really new at that time. I was there for a couple of years with our first graduating class, and they graduated in the year of 2000. And, so that was a really big milestone for us. We grew that program, and I was with that department until 2016 when I left to start a new department in engineering called Experiential Engineering Education. It focuses on engineering in the first years as well as engineering education research in the graduate program. And so I stayed there until last July when I became the interim dean. So I am currently in that role of interim dean for the college, and enjoying every minute of it. And I will turn it back over. I think that's it. I'm the last one, right? What's missing?
Yep, last but certainly not least. So I hope our students are as impressed by this panel as I am. You guys are quite the impressive group, so I'm excited to dive right in and start talking about mentoring. So I'm not going to call on anyone. I don't think anyone here is particularly shy, so feel free to just hop in and answer any question. So again, our students, I will encourage you guys to ask any and all questions that you have. If you're not asking questions, you're going to have to hear mine. So your questions are probably way better. So make sure that you guys are asking any and all questions that we can direct to the panel. But just to get us started, can each of you talk about how you found a mentor and really who your mentor was that has helped you and been such an instrumental part in your life?
I'll go ahead and kick it off. And by the way, I'm a Scorpio, so you all don't have to ask that question. Hey, you're Scorpio also? I knew it. I knew there was a reason why we got along so well. Any other Scorpios in the house, let us know. Right. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Sagittarius all day. Sagittarius all day. But whatever. We'll get there. We'll get there.
So I think for me, I've had mentors or different mentors all throughout my life. But I would say that my first mentor was this man named Dr. Roland Buck, who was the vice president of student affairs at the university that I attended for undergraduate. And he was not a very intrusive mentor, but I think what I did was I just watched how he kind of, navigated the room when he was in a meeting. I would just watch his style, and I would just watch how he talked and how he treated people. And I said that, yeah, I think I want to be kind like him. And I think I want to treat people like him. And I think I want to invest in people like he invested in other people. And he let me drive his car one day because he was late for a meeting. And when I went to go drive his car to park it, he was driving a big, huge Mercedes. And I was like, oh, so that's the kind of money that a vice president for student affairs gets. Let me go in that profession, right? And so that's how, that's part of the reason how I got in higher ed.
That's great. Dr. Caputo, you're muted if you were trying to talk.
That's what I realized. I'm still not good. One of the things, so I'm happy to talk about mentors, but it's hard for me because I've had so many at different stages of my life and different who've impacted me in different ways. Some of my, professional mentors have been my PhD advisor, my postdoctoral advisor, things like that. But one thing I just want to sort of put out there is that a mentor, when people say mentor, you think about someone older, more experienced, someone who's been in, X, Y, or Z profession for a long time. But in reality, one of my mentors that really changed my path in life was a student who was only a year ahead of me in college. She, took the time to talk with me and talk to me about some different options that she was pursuing or considering for a career path. And it really opened my eyes, because I had always been very tunnel vision that I am a pre-med. I am going to medical school. I am going to be, on this path. This is the rest of my life. And talking with her and seeing some of the things, she was in my major, she was doing all the same courses as me, but had a completely different plan. It really opened my eyes, and through those conversations and through those interactions and that sort of, guidance from her, it totally changed my path to wind up going into research and going on a track for a PhD and then eventually into faculty.
Yeah, I'll go next if no one else wants to go. You guys hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sorry. I gotta pivot slightly. I want to talk about one thing and then I'll dive into the mentors. I think for me, there's always been macro mentors and micro mentors. There's people that stick out and are consistent, and you look up to a lot of things about them. You want to emulate them in a lot of ways. And there's micro mentors where you take one or two things. Maybe you've only interacted with them one or two times, but it matters. I, like many of you, have had many mentors over the years. But what I'll talk about today is Richard Jones, who I met. He actually entered Rowan University as, I believe, the assistant vice president of student life and res life, something along those lines. In 2007, when I became a freshman, we spent more time together throughout my freshman year, as I had eventually become something involved with SGA. I can't even remember what it was now. Too old at this point. But Richard taught me a lot of things, right? He taught me the power of empathy, how seeing someone for who they are and where they've been and understanding that is super important. Taught me the power of transparency, how just being brutally honest at sometimes with people is really the best recipe for success and building a strong relationship. Shake hands and kiss babies. To his point, how do you walk through a room, and navigate that arena, which is always enjoyable. And I think one of the biggest things Richard taught me was just integrity. It's doing the right thing when no one's looking. And other people have taught me those lessons over time, but Richard reinforced it. And Richard, you made a good point before. He was never overly intrusive. Like, it wasn't a text message every day, like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? But mentors are sometimes not giving you the right answers. They're trying to lead the horse to water, per se. They're giving you little breadcrumbs to get you where they think you need to be. And to me, the best mentors are ones that can wrap up their shared pain, shared pleasure, their experiential knowledge in a concise format so that you can digest that as a younger or sometimes even older individual. So kudos to you, Richard.
Thank you, JJ. Really appreciate it.
You're on mute, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I'm not the only one.
I love how the engineer can't master the technology on this thing.
The geologist helped out, don't worry.
So you missed all those really witty things that I was saying?
That was your TED Talk.
Remember to repeat them. So I'll jump in. I've also had a number of really strong mentors throughout my career, and all playing different kinds of roles at different times, different phases in my career. So I'll start with one, and that was my PhD advisor. So my PhD advisor, I think just by nature of that relationship, the advisor to advisee relationship, focused like mostly on research and then my early career. And he was a very strong researcher, and I think one thing that I really, really appreciated is that while really kind of helping me to grow as a researcher, I also had really strong interest in undergraduate education, engineering education research, teaching, and those kind of things. And even though that wasn't the focus of his own career, he was really first and foremost a researcher and like graduate educator. He really, really supported me to explore those things and then find my first job that was at a university that kind of like gave me it wasn't Rowan, it was a school in Louisiana. And but it offered the opportunity to develop as a teacher, as an engineering education researcher, and as a chemical engineering researcher. So I really appreciated that he supported my development, even though it wasn't kind of following the same path that he had followed.
Wonderful. Okay, I guess it's up to me now, and I really appreciate hearing everyone else stories about mentor, and I agree wholeheartedly with you. And everybody is our teacher and can be our mentor, whether it's somebody you meet just walking around campus, or you're going to a store, or somebody in our family. And outside of a few family members, for me, the two most important mentors in my life still to this very day, and I never make a major decision without consulting either one of them, was my former 9th grade earth science teacher, Louis Dutowski.
Wow.
The moment I met him and he opened his mouth, I knew this was a person who I could and would learn from and listen to. And I have done so. That was 1979 that I met him. He lives not far away, retired now, with his wife in a very sort of home full of museum pieces of everything. And the other is my first undergraduate advisor, John Flynn, who's now the dean at the American Museum of Natural History's graduate school and the Frick curator of paleontology. And from the moment I met him, it was the same way. And the two of them have guided me in my career in every major decision I have ever been part of, including coming to Rowan. When I was offered the position, they were very kind to help me navigate and figure things out. And I still default back to them for that guidance. And they to me. Over time, our relationships have evolved. And now I feel like they learn from me as well, which is a beautiful thing. And they ask me for advice on occasion. So when you find that mentor and it clicks, don't let it go. Don't miss that click. Continue forward.
You know, I want to echo that, right? I do believe that the mentoring relationship is reciprocal as well. And if Jessica doesn't mind, I mentored Jessica when she was an undergraduate here at Rowan as well, and JJ too. And to this day, I learned from them just as much as they may have learned from me. Jessica is a little better at being a mentor than JJ. Yeah, I absolutely.
I'm gonna talk to you after I'm gonna talk to you after this WebEx.
JJ, I'm so glad you're here.
But that's okay. Jess is wonderful, so I'll lose to her any day.
Yeah, but and I also want to say too that and then each one of the panelists, so yeah, each one of the panelists on here I've learned from as well, right? Some I've had more in-depth conversations with, but others I've just kind of watched you, and I just watched how you navigate everything and you do everything, and I just admire that. You seem to be people with integrity, and you have a heart for students, and I absolutely admire that, and I'm always drawn to that.
Thank you, Richard. I'm just enjoying sitting, listening, and I hope our students, maybe you're feeling the same way. You hear these big titles and these people who look like, they're so important and they have these big positions, and you've seen them on these virtual events. But I hope you're hearing the stories of how we've been shaped and have gotten to where we are, and it's because of other people, and it's because of that mentoring relationship. So for our incoming students, I know there's often a lot of anxiety about that transition from high school to college, or even another institution to Rowan. It's a totally different world. It's a new home. And how do you navigate that? So as we're talking about forming those mentoring relationships, I hope our students are looking at this panel today or other virtual sessions you've attended as connections that you've already started to make on our campus. So I know we haven't yet met face-to-face, and I'll give an open invitation. I hope everyone's okay with this. I think all of our doors are always open to students. I know all of us would love to meet you face-to-face and really start creating that relationship. So I think you guys who are attending these sessions and being really interactive and talking to us and asking questions are already a step ahead once you get to campus. But even if you are attending and you're meeting us virtually, what type of mentorship programs do we have at Rowan? And really, how would you recommend that an incoming student first year at Rowan finds that mentor and finds that person that can really help them?
Great question. You want us to respond, right?
That's the idea of this, yeah.
I'm gonna jump in because
Not
I just love the
rhetorical.
way you put that, and you said something that's really incredible, which is our doors are always open.
Yes.
I will give you a bit of unsolicited advice with all respect to all my other colleagues. If their door is not always open, move on, find somebody else. Because you're first in our lives.
That's right.
Students are first. And I can't tell you how many students I know myself and others here in the panel have had Zoom sessions with one-on-one since we've started our current stay at home. And sometimes it's just to navigate a simple decision. And we're here for you to do that. And if you go to somebody because you're thinking you might want to, you're an engineer, maybe you want to be an environmental scientist, or you're an environmental scientist, maybe you want to be an engineer, and you go and talk to a professor in that department, it's our job to help you navigate your own decision. We're not going to try to sway you one way or other. Whatever you decide is what we're going to be happy with for you.
Absolutely.
That's part of our job. And coming to Rutgers from the City University of New York, where I was for 15 years with 500,000 students. Can you imagine 500,000 students? The community here at Rowan is absolutely incredible. It's incredibly supportive, and students are first in people's minds. Anybody will help you on the campus who is available to help you. Or go knock, open it up, hello.
So I would say that we have formalized mentoring programs, and one of the mentoring programs that's formal that I work with is the Harley Flack mentoring program. And that's a mentoring program that's sponsored by our Social Justice, Inclusion, and Conflict Resolution Office. And if you are looking for a mentor and you haven't found a professor or a faculty member, well, those are the same things, a faculty or staff member that you connected with, then you can go to the Social Justice, Inclusion, and Conflict Resolution Center, and you can sign up to receive a formal mentor. But it has also been my experience that most of the mentoring that occurs is kind of organic. You know, you might meet somebody in a classroom or a professor in a classroom, or you might see a staff member at an event and they may say something that kind of resonates with your spirit, and you just start a conversation. And I've seen them develop in a very sort of organic way as well. And I know that the colleges and different departments have mentoring programs as well. So there are a variety of ways in which you can connect with a mentor on campus.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. The organic, to me personally, because of my experience, is not that it's more important than formal mentoring, but it's necessary as well. I think the best advice I can give to any incoming students outside of going down a formal mentoring path is get involved with as many things as possible, partially because you never know who you're going to meet, but partially because you're going to figure out who you don't want to be your mentor, which is sometimes just as important as who you do want to be your mentor. And that may sound ironic, but it's true. And I know Rowan offers a wide variety of programming, all over the place as far as formal clubs and organizations. Jess, you're similar to me in this. We were very involved as students, and, indirectly, that's how we met Richard. Whether it's pros, SGA, the honors program, whatever it might be, I think that's super important. The other piece of advice I could give anyone looking for a mentor, you don't always have to relate to that mentor right off the bat. Finding someone different, finding someone on the other side of the aisle per se is sometimes very important. Even if it's just to listen to them again and to understand a different point of view. To me, I value that from a mentorship standpoint. And that's some of the best advice I can give each of you as you're entering your time at Rowan.
So I think another thing to, think about when you're looking for mentors is they don't have to be people like us, right? Get involved in activities on campus, right? Get involved in peer mentoring, right? There's a huge, I mentioned this before in my own experience, but it really resonates because there you can learn a lot about Rowan, the programs, the opportunities, and what's worked and what hasn't from someone you meet in the student club from your major, or about some activity that you're interested in, or a sports team or something like that. Those relationships, look for mentors everywhere, right? Don't just think, they have to be in the faculty office suite or behind some desk, right? You can find value and experience and knowledge in a lot of different places.
Those are all great words of wisdom, and I'm also an advocate of, you know, both styles of mentoring, both the informal, organic kind of mentoring as well as formal mentoring programs. Personally, I've never actually participated in a formal mentoring program as a mentee. I have participated as a mentor, and it's been very rewarding. So, you know, when you're here at Rowan, I think that it was really good advice to seek out some of the either a formal mentoring program if that kind of like formalized relationship and that structure really appeals to you. If you think you'd benefit more from something informal and you just want to find your way, then get involved in like the student clubs that are related to your major or your college. Some activities that are well, I can speak from the engineering perspective. We have clubs for like every engineering discipline, as well as things that are multidisciplinary, like Engineers Without Borders, where students from all different disciplines, including outside the college, will work on projects to help people in different communities around the world. So, but those are like really good opportunities to get involved with other students, maybe upperclassmen, who can give you really good advice on some of the academic questions at Rowan, but also helping you to prepare for your career. It also, there's with all those activities, there's faculty involved, so it's a great way to connect with faculty who have common interests.
Great, thanks everyone. And I think that is a perfect segue into a question we have from Emma. So Emma asked if there are specific mentors within certain degree programs. For example, if there's an art student that's in the honors program, would they be able to find a mentor that way? So I'll let you guys respond to that. But I think also just being open, as somebody had stated, for these organic relationships to form. I know a few years ago in my professional career, I was asked to serve on a search committee for a high-level VP position. And I kept thinking, I don't know why I was invited to this. Everyone else is a VP. And I entered that room and I ended up meeting people who I never would have crossed paths with or had conversations with that I now can get coffee with and pick their brain. And that ended up being just such a great opportunity for me that I would never have seen coming just serving on this search committee. So you never know where you'll find that connection and form that relationship. But back to Emma's question, and you're looking for more of a structured, formalized mentorship program in the academic colleges, how would a student go about finding that?
So I think one of the great places to start are academic advisors, right? So every student at Rowan is assigned to an academic advisor when they start as freshmen. And that person is technically part of the University Advising Center, which is good in a lot of ways, right? So what that does is it connects them to this entire support structure that is through student services, but they're also directly connected to your home department, right? So they have a foot on both sides of the fence, and they can really sort of give you the best answers or best connections for what you're looking for. You talk to that person, if that mentor is going to be something through one of these clubs or one of these programs, they can direct you that way. Or if you're really looking for something with a faculty member or specific backgrounds or expertise or whatever, then they'll know those faculty in your home department, and they'll know those staff members and things like that they can put you in contact with them.
That's great. So a follow-up question to that from Joshua, which I think is such a great and honest question. So Joshua said, I've gone through most of the entirety of my academic career so far without a mentor. Why do I need one now?
Ooh, I want to take this because that's something I would have said years ago. Josh, I'll be blunt and straightforward with you. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And that is exactly why you need a mentor. Even if you don't think you do, trust me, you do not know everything, my friend. And that's the simplest way I could say it.
Yep, I agree. I think I have relied more on mentors as I've gone through my career. So I rely more on mentors now than I did when I was a student, because I've learned the value of mentors. And I've also kind of learned how to be a mentee, and I've learned that it's okay to ask all those questions. You don't have to pretend that you know how to navigate everything.
And I think that,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
no, you can go ahead, Harold.
I was just gonna say, that's right. Generosity is a two-way street. Not just giving, but it's being able to receive. And that's really an important concept never to forget, because gifts are imparted that way through mentoring.
I think so. In response to the question, I think one of the other aspects here is that, you know, going through elementary school and high school, everything is really structured for you, right? You don't have a lot of options, right? Maybe you get to pick an elective course or something like that. When you get to college and when you're talking about career paths and majors, you know, you go from one end of the pendulum to the other, right? It's all in your hands. You have to make the decisions, right? There's no more falling back on, well, my guidance counselor put me in these classes, so that's what I'm going to take. It's a complete different ball. So you have to want to make the most informed and most sort of well-rounded decisions that take into account all of the different aspects that are going to impact you. And just getting more information doesn't hurt, right? You may wind up going the same path you thought, but you can be confident that you weighed the other options because you got that input.
And the only other thing I'll add, and when I read your question more literally, just because you haven't had a mentor so far in your academic career doesn't mean you don't need a mentor outside of the classroom, because your college experience and beyond are much more than just grades and GPA. Now, they are very important, especially for the next, 4 to 8 years if you're going to get your doctorate or not. But, mentorship extends beyond the classroom. So it's not just about academic mentorship, at least in my opinion. It's about a lot more than that, especially as you grow and develop as an individual and as a human being. So.
And I think that, to echo what JJ is saying is that, the relationship between a mentor and a mentee can be as deep as you want it to be within boundaries, of course. And it can be a lifelong relationship. I think that you heard Dr. Connolly, say that, he's still in touch with his mentors, to this very day. And I would also add that I did not really get my first mentor that was something other than passive until my first job at Vanderbilt University. And this man was the exact opposite from me, right? He was a white male from the South, and he was also a minister, but he was also a higher ed professional. And he owned a farm. I am from Florida. I have never seen a farm before in my life. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I grew up in the city. I've seen a beach, but I had never seen a farm, or at least worked on one. But yeah, and this man, and before that point, I had made so many mistakes, in choosing friends, taking the wrong classes. I changed my major 3 times. And I definitely would have benefited from having a mentor when I was an undergraduate. So yeah, so sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know I needed a mentor until I got Steve Caldwell, who was my mentor.
That's perfect. So Abigail asked a question that I think ties into the conversation that we're having perfectly. And Abigail wants to know, how do you recommend maintaining a lifelong relationship with a mentor? And I think so many of us are sitting here reflecting back on mentors that we had in college or throughout our careers, and recognizing that this is years beyond when we were ever in college. So how have we maintained those relationships, and what would you recommend for a student who's starting that journey now to be able to really effectively maintain a relationship with a mentor?
So
go ahead, Sophie.
You want to go ahead, Greg?
No, go for it. Go for it.
I think that's the kind of thing that, often happens organically. So, it's pretty easy when you're seeing each other all the time if it's someone on campus. But then after you graduate, I think, people, the mentors really, really, really appreciate hearing from their mentees. They care. They're invested in your long-term success. And so anytime that you reach back to give them an update or, just send a greeting or something like that, they appreciate it so much, and it's going to be reciprocated. So, you can also reach back with a question, or they might reach back with a question. As you start your careers, maybe you'll be in a position like with a company, or you can come recruit at Rowan or something like that. The relationship changes as time goes on.
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example. Just recently, when all this pandemic lockdown stuff started, after a couple weeks, I was sitting here. I was like, oh, I wonder how so-and-so was doing, right? So I emailed my postdoctoral mentor, and I emailed my PhD advisor. I just said, hey, just checking in. How are you guys doing during the lockdown? And then I get pages of response back because, it really is true. It's a two-way street. I love to hear from my former students, just like they love to hear from me, their former student, right? So, it really is it can be as simple as an email here and there, or a text message or something like that, just to keep those lines of communication open that, hey, simply acknowledging that they are still making an impact in your life, that such that like they are still in your frame of reference somewhere, it means a lot to people.
Yeah, that's right, Greg, totally. And it's organic when it works out. At least for me, it has been that way. And in my case, I actually hadn't had a chance quite yet to email or call my two life mentors, who both reached out to me first to check and how everything was going, and is the space mission okay, and that kind of stuff. And that's really wonderful. And there's also a level of constant respect in the relationships for me with both Lou and John, in a sense that still to this day, when I do approach him about something, there's a little bit of teeny tiny formality that goes into it in a way that's really appreciative that I can do that. And that they pick that up, and they know that, and it helps foster the relationship and continue to grow. So many students that I have, I tell them, I'm always here for you. We're always here for you. If we don't see you again, have a great life, but remember us. Come back if you need something. And if you do, and just maybe one time to ask a question, they're having a difficulty. And absolutely fantastic. Always, always here. Once our student, always our student.
So I want to circle back to a question that came up earlier, and I think it was something that JJ had said about finding a mentor that's different than you. And I remember, again, as Richard was one of my mentors as a student at Rowan, and one of his favorite lines, and I think this actually may be from one of his mentors, is that if you come into college and you leave the same person, you should demand your money back. That you should come here and you should be changing. And that's not just the academic piece that you noted. There are so many things outside of the classroom that should be growing and evolving over the course of those 4 years. So as you're looking for a mentor, maybe you're finding that organic relationship on its own, would you recommend trying to find somebody with different background than you, different gender or ethnicity or profession? Or are you content looking for somebody that is kind of similar? I know for me, when I was in high school, one of my mentors was my swim coach, and we had very similar backgrounds. And I remember when I was in high school, I got to go and visit her at college and get to experience that. And that was great, but that was very similar to my life. And when I came to college, I was able to meet so many different people from so many different walks of life that prior to that experience, I didn't know existed. So if everyone wants to chime in and just kind of share how you've found different people, and would you encourage students to really start engaging and forming relationships with people outside of their comfort zone, let's say?
Yeah, I think for me, and this is a phrase I use in business all the time, I just did it, right? In my binary world where it's do or do not, ideas are praised, execution is rewarded, is one of my favorite sayings. So if you want to get involved or approach someone that's different than you, or seek out their opinion, whatever it may be, you have to do it. And it's easily identifiable. You know who you are, you know the things you believe, where you're from, so on and so forth. And it's easy to go out and be like, okay, this person's different. Have a conversation. Now, Obviously, I'm a super shy person, as everyone can tell. No, but I mean, I think even whether you're introverted or extroverted, I think you just have to do it. And again, it doesn't have to be super structured or forced. It can just be a natural conversation like you're meeting a friend. And I think, again, going back to something I said earlier, finding someone that's different than you is super important, not only because it's going to help you grow as an individual and be more empathetic from another standpoint, but you don't know what you don't know about someone else or their world they came from, and it just helps you become a better and more educated person. And as Dr. Caputo said, you can never have enough information. So I totally agree with that.
And I would also add this, don't think that you have to come already formed, right? Don't think that you have to be, as a 4.0 student or anything like that. I always like for students to come to me with integrity and a sincere and earnest desire to do better, right? And so yeah, and I just don't want anyone to go away thinking that you've got to be a 4.0 student, or you've just got to just always hit the mark all the time to get a mentor. That's not true. In my former role, before I was the vice president for student engagement, I was the dean of students. And so I would get a lot of students who would come to my office because they had gotten into trouble. And some of those students have become my best mentees moving forward after that initial conversation. As a matter of fact, I have one that actually got suspended. He came back, and now he's working on Wall Street and doing very, very well, So yeah, I would also tell you that you don't have to come fully formed and already, successful.
I think the other thing to keep in mind about this is don't get discouraged if you reach out to someone or you think they might be a good mentor and it doesn't work out, right? I mean, I can use my own, pre-marriage dating life as a example that you're going to strike out sometimes.
Okay. Right.
I mean, well, all right, you might strike out a lot of times,
Yeah.
but you're like, if it doesn't work out, that's okay. That's a sign that that person is not the right mentor for you, right? Or sometimes you start building that relationship and it doesn't feel right, and you're not getting positive feedback, and you're not getting sort of the guidance you feel you need, and sometimes that's okay, right? You don't have to commit, or if you reach out to someone and it doesn't work out, then don't say, oh, that if this is never going to happen, right? Just recalibrate and reshoot.
Yeah, I have to say, just on a similar twist, and it's a little bit personal, but I want to bring it up to the students, is that when I came out as a member of the LGBT community towards the end of my undergraduate days, the first person I actually went to in my life, even beside my family, and told, was my 9th grade earth science teacher and mentor. And he's about as conservative Jewish as you could get. And I wasn't sure exactly how he would take it. I wanted to tell him first. And he looked at me and said, well, thank you for telling me. Has it been difficult for you to tell me? And I said, yes. And he said, oh, well. And then we went into this long discussion, and he hugged me, and, that was it. So that gave me the strength as well to go to my family.
I know we're starting to run a little short on time. We have I'm going to make this a quick question, Tara. I know you're an incoming transfer student, and Tara wanted to know, coming in as a junior, should she be quickly finding a mentor? So if anyone else wants to quickly chime in, but my first response is, I don't want any student to feel more pressure or more stress to now find a mentor. I don't think that's the takeaway from this session. I would encourage any student to really just be open to new experiences, new people, and encourage you to connect with faculty, talk to somebody like one of us that maybe you wouldn't have had the courage to do a couple of months ago. I know when I was sitting in your shoes when I was in high school, I was nervous to pick up the phone and order a pizza. I would make my mom do it for me. And I know it's surprising now because now I never stop talking and I'm certainly not shy at all. But coming to college was really transformative to me because it allowed me to put myself in uncomfortable and vulnerable situations and really get to connect with people that, again, I really wasn't comfortable doing or have the confidence doing before. So that would be my piece of advice for you as a transfer student coming in as a junior or as an incoming freshman, is really just be open. Don't put more pressure on yourself to find a mentor in an official capacity, but be open to any relationships or experiences that may evolve. All right, so we only have about 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure we don't run over since there is another session at 2. So I'm going to end on a final question. Can everyone give a important lesson or a leadership piece of advice that they learned from their mentor that they could now pass on to our student attendees today?
I can do that really quickly, which was continue to follow your passion. That was the most important thing. Never give up. For me, the geology, the rocks, regardless of the obstacles I had to navigate, never give up your passion. And I never have, and I've always been happy for that.
One thing I learned, and it stands out in my life, and it's been something that has resonated with me through my entire career, is that you can't be an expert at everything, right? Work and cooperate with people, collaborate with people. You're not going to be the best in the world at everything, right? So why not work with people who are better than you at certain things and be a great team rather than a mediocre individual?
That's a great tip. And I think you can apply that to your mentoring relationship too. You know, as you realize, as you have different mentors in your life, realizing what their strengths are and where they can contribute the best, rather than trying sort of one size fits all approach to mentoring. So yeah, both of those are really good, really, really good suggestions.
Go ahead, Richard.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I echo all of those things. And I think that I would add that the best piece of advice that or one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received was to, that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and be present in every moment. Because if you're not present in the moment, you're really going to miss what's happening. And I just have found that, and it's so valuable. And that is the way that I'm able to connect with other people, because I just try to be present in the moment, because everything can go so fast these days. And even now, amidst this pandemic, I've even had to slow down just a little bit more, right? And I've had to really think about things. And so, yeah, so just to be present in the moment and to remember that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I agree with what everyone said. I think the 3 quick things that I have that I've been taught is, 1, true leadership begins with the inner person. So it really starts with you and who you are and what you care about. 2nd is that no one ever does anything truly on their own. You are where you are to some degree, in some way, shape, or form, because of someone else. So the people that want to ride around saying it's all me, it's definitely not. And the 3rd thing, and this applies to business, but I think it applies to life at a more macro level, is you have to put people before profits. And just the foundational principle that to be successful in this world, it's not about money, it's about relationships. And it's about trusting people, being empathetic with people, respecting people, and don't downplay the importance of people in any area of your life. And then last, I got to say this because, Richard, I say it all the time. My favorite leadership lesson is a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson: "Shallow men believe in luck, strong men believe in cause and effect." And it's that hard work and making the right decisions that's going to set you up for success in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Oh, sorry, Harold. Go for it.
No, I was just going to say, wow, this is humbling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to echo the same thing. And I think students who have been on here before, you guys know I'm on a lot of these sessions, and for me to be able to sit here and just be so engaged and absorb so much and feel like I learned something new and really come away with so many powerful life lessons just from an hour session with my colleagues is awesome. So it's a great feeling. So thank you guys so much for advice that you shared. And I hope students, again, too, you're realizing how mentors have impacted our lives in so many ways, and recognize that, again, our doors are always open. And for us to be able to continue that and help mentor you once you get to campus is really why we probably all got involved in higher education in the first place. So I will leave that invitation open for all of us, that our doors are certainly open. It was so wonderful to share this afternoon with you. I hope you guys, again, really were as engaged and benefited from the session as I was today. I would love to continue this conversation, so hopefully we can pick this up again at some point over the summer. So if we are able to run another conversation, I will certainly let you guys know and keep everyone posted. I can send out the recording of the session today if anyone did want to watch it back. I think this may be one that I'll be watching back myself. So if anyone does want a copy of the presentation, email me at syedj, it's SYEDJ @rowan.edu. So thank you so much for all of our presenters. Thank you to our students, and congratulations again to all of our incoming students. We can't wait to see everyone this fall, and stay safe and healthy at home. Look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.